It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were.
Can you believe it? It's already hour 2 of Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Yeah, Tempest Fugits.
Tempest Fugits?
Mm-hmm. Time flies.
Oh, is that what that means?
Mm-hmm.
I had not heard that before. So, yes, Tempest Fugits, folks, and welcome to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We've got a lot to cover this second hour. Some of the topics we're going to be asking the question. It's a philosophical one that the folks in Connecticut are thinking about. Should all members in an association be required to give their approval or be involved in that approval process of the budget for it to be valid? We'll talk about what we have here in Minnesota with what's going on in Connecticut. Talk about the pros and cons of both. Also, from the Myrtle Beach Sun News in Florida, there are legislators there that don't feel that HOAs are progressive enough, that they are moving forward, that they are evolving as they should, and that they see a lot of things lacking. But as always, there's a few that have got an idea on how to correct that. And we'll talk about that and so much more. Well, let's get started here with this first story. And this is from Hartford, Connecticut, from the Norwalk News from March 30th. And it says, should an association's budget process require the vote of all homeowners in order to be approved? There is a state representative named Arthur O'Neill who participated in a public hearing this, I guess, about a week or so ago, and said that allowed the public to weigh in on his condominium law reform bill, a proposal that aims to make the condominium budget voting process, he thinks, more democratic. He doesn't think it's democratic enough.
Okay.
In fact, he went on to say this is undemocratic, counterintuitive, and fundamentally unfair to condo owners. He said the way the situation is right now, and he wants to see that change. What is that change, you ask? Well, House Bill 5511 apparently is parked right now in the Judiciary Committee there in Connecticut. And that bill would require the budget, it says, of a common interest community to be approved by a majority of the unit owners voting instead of what's taking place now, which in the news article it says instead of a majority of total unit owners.
So what they're saying is
sounds a little confusing.
Yes, it does. Right now, a budget has to be approved by a majority of all the members of the association. So if there's 100 members in the association, 51 have to approve the budget, right?
So that's
the way it is now.
You're right. If I understand it, and that is different than what we have here in Minnesota.
Okay, that's right.
Right now, generally, it has been understood in Minnesota, and I'll say thankfully so too, that the board of directors that you elected homeowners in an association are responsible for drafting, and they'll do that with the help of a professional management company if they are involved with one, to come up with a budget each year. Governing documents generally will state that a certain percentage of increase is generally fine for the board to make that, to approve of that and move forward without the homeowners being involved. Sure. But if
or
it gets,
approving. We commonly see the board, this is just an example, but it's common. The board can increase the assessment by 5% to meet their budget without getting approval of all of the members.
that's very common.
But if they have to increase it more than that,
then they need to ask homeowners at the next meeting of its members and seek for approval.
Yeah.
And again, you wouldn't have to get a total of all homeowners involved. All you would have to get is a quorum, so a meeting that meets all the requirements of giving everybody the opportunity to weigh in. Once you have that, a majority of the people vote. That's how
it's
things
passed
would carry.
with the majority of the people at the meeting
voting.
The meeting.
and that's what is interesting.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen, but and I gave you the example a little bit before. If you had 50 people at the meeting and that met the quorum requirements, you could have 47 people actually say, we're abstaining to even take a vote.
Yeah.
That means you're leaving the decision to three people. And if one person voted no and two people voted yes, you could actually have two people who actually approve
the budget.
But that's because other people don't bother by not showing up.
That's right.
Other people don't bother because they abstain and don't vote. But that's their right.
It sounds like that's one of the reasons that this bill is being suggested in Connecticut is they want a majority of the owners voting to be able to approve or disapprove the budget because it makes more sense. It's more practical in the real world. Because in the real world, there are so many people who don't participate in their association governance that it's hard to get all of the members to vote on anything.
Yeah. Now, the part that's different here is that there seems to be a requirement to get a majority of the homeowners or all of the homeowners, no matter how you're looking at it here, depending on current legislation or what they want to see take place, to be involved.
Yeah.
And to me, that seems a little bit difficult because
it doesn't sound like they even have the board doesn't have the ability to pass any budget.
Yeah, I mean,
without owners voting on it.
Yeah, what we're talking about is a representative government. That's what is called a republic. Where you
elected people to
represent you.
Exactly.
Because for the pure and simple reason that you can't get everybody together. And if you have to before anything move forward, you would never find yourself moving forward.
Well, that's right. That's right. It's the same with an election.
Yeah,
in a general election in our country, the president is elected by a majority of the people who vote, not by a majority of all the eligible voters in the country. Correct?
Yeah.
So if we had to have a majority of all eligible voters, we'd never get anyone elected.
And to me, what is always astounding is that why would we have state legislators who you would think if there's anybody who understands the idea of a representative government,
right,
it would be them.
Right. So why are they trying to curtail that in a homeowners association?
Yes, and they want to say that it's undemocratic. Well, yes, it is undemocratic because a democracy is one vote, one person.
That's right.
And we live not in just a democracy. We live in a democratic republic.
That's right.
It is both. We believe in people having the opportunity to vote, but then we have representatives who are given the authority
our country for us.
That's
right, and that's exactly the way the homeowners association is set up.
And to me, it just seems mind-numbing. Why couldn't you see that? If you said to this state representative, O'Neill, in Connecticut now, everybody's going to have to weigh in before you guys pass a budget. Before you guys spend any kind of appropriation money.
That's right. Any of the state money, yeah.
They wouldn't have it.
No.
And
they wouldn't be able to do business.
Yeah, and it is so interesting what's taking place here. I had the opportunity in looking at the background for this story. I had a chance to speak to the chapter executive director for CAI in Connecticut, and she said some very interesting things about this bill. I'd like to go over that, but I see we're running out of time here, so we'll have to wait till after the break to do that. But she is bringing up some things that are very important. Also, in this story, you hear Mr. O'Neill talk about how he wants to thank the Community Association Institute, who has been working diligently, he said, to help me progress this bill. My understanding is no, they aren't. I don't know what he's saying. They are opposing this change, but we'll get into that after we come back from this break. So we'll take that break right now. You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony on AM 1280, The Patriot. Back after this.